Hello everyone, welcome to my live session. So let me make a comment while we're waiting people to join. I'm going to make a comment that the main topic of our session today is kids tennis schedule. Past and pin comment. Okay, perfect. Hello, welcome. Waving you as well. Feel free to leave your comments and anything you want to put in the comment box. So it's 10 a.m. Eastern time. I am located in Canada. If you don't know me, my name is Valentina. I'm a tennis mommy. And I'm full of energy and ready to have a very productive conversation and session with you. As you probably know, I like to keep it short and sweet. So 30-minute session. I will try to stay within this time frame. And I definitely feel myself more comfortable now running this session because this is my fourth time doing it. And first time I remember how nervous I was, but practice makes the progress, as all of us know. So hopefully every single time I'm doing better and better in terms of the explanation and presentation, and so you guys kind of feel a better connection with me as well. All right. So while we're waiting people to join, maybe just like a personal note. I went to a comedy show yesterday night. It was very nice. Canada is a very multicultural country, very diverse country. And every time when I get a chance to see some shows and performances from back home, I usually go because this is just a part of me, my culture, and I'm proud of it, right? We all have to be proud of ourselves, of our culture and diversity. All right, so let's get started. And I have only 3 questions today to review with you. And I received all of them from some of you. So, and as always, using my notebook, I try to prepare myself, I try to organize myself, and as I always promote here, make sure that parents and coaches stay organized, manage their time, invest in the knowledge, and prepare themselves for the lesson, for the conversation with parents, whatever you guys doing. So, and let's jump in right away. The first question I received, I actually broadcasted it yesterday in my stories. So the question was about, let me remind you guys, wondering if the online tennis program follows my online tennis program, right? Because you're probably familiar with that. I offer 100 drills for kids, divided by different sections: ABC, agility, balance, and coordination, forehand, backhand, volley, and serve, and some fun games for cool down. So the question was, wondering if the online tennis program follows a calendar or timeline with the drills you should be doing with your child, or is more like, here's the drill for you, and you come up with your own schedule, timeline, and run it. So let me be very clear with you. We do have goals. We do have some expectations. We might have some schedule, but we don't have a timeline for child development. All kids are different. All of them develop at the different paces. And this is the main challenge why it's hard to move the child from one level to another very clearly. So we have that red, orange, and green stages in progressive tennis or mini tennis. And sometimes parents think that after 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, it's time to move from red ball to orange ball, but it's not always the case. We do have some general competencies that you have to follow and check, like a checklist to check the development of your player or your child, but it's not always like set in stone or clear when do you have to do that. So what I'm trying to say is that in terms of the timeline, for development. No, we don't. So obviously you have to track the progress of the player, you have to monitor it, you have to work towards all fundamentals, but it depends on your child's abilities, right? When your child will be able to reach some certain milestone. So to be more specific, you have to have a lesson calendar. If we're talking about the calendar or scheduling for kids' tennis lessons, obviously yes. So let's take a real example. So you have a child, 5, 6, 7 years old, let's say. Depends on your goal. You have to identify the goal. If you're just exploring tennis, if you just want to see if your child will like tennis, 1-2 times per week is enough, right? And again, depends on the age. You can have half an hour lesson, you can have 1 hour lesson, you can choose group environment, training environment, you can choose private environment, depends on your goal. So let's say you say, okay, so I would like my child to play once a week, 1 hour. And then after that, based on this goal, it's obviously recreational direction, okay? Or you're just exploring the sport, trying to understand whether you want to invest your time and money more in this. So, and then you start building the lesson plan based on this involvement or schedule. So for example, you decided once a week, on Wednesdays, 1 hour, we have a lesson. And then based on the program I offer, you need to know some, I would say, coaching fundamentals as well, how to make your lesson successful. So how to build a successful lesson plan. And that's where my webinar actually, more educational part of it, would be a good support for you, because I actually spent, as you know, 2.5 hours talking very specific and detailed. I provided very specific and detailed information for parents how to do that, how to build the lesson plan, how to build the schedule around it, what is the lesson structure, how do we start the lesson, warm up, technical part, cool down, what kind of drills should be included, what is the optimal length of each part. So it's not like I'm not going to be covering this everything here in half an hour. I'm just giving you the idea that you have to be prepared, you have to think it through, and you have to organize yourself in a better way if you decide to have a lesson in addition to the regular tennis program for your child, for example, or if you decide just to start less tennis with your child without even additional enrollment, let's say, yet. But again, I want to be clear, I'm not promoting parent substitution for tennis coaches. Tennis coach is very important. Tennis coach should be teaching your child. Parents should play a supporting role. And they can start tennis with their child. You can support player development, but they don't have to substitute coaches, okay? So again, going back to this question about the timeline and schedule. So timeline were clear. Everyone has a different timeline in terms of development. It's based on your child, based on your child's abilities, mental, physical, based on the age. But for the schedule, yes, you have to plan, you have to organize, you have to think it through, you have to put the drills. And if we be, again, talking about my program, so all the drills they are for beginners, meaning that the player has no or little experience with tennis. How do you progress? Again, on my webinar, I provide you the PDF form. It's like a checklist. And I actually can share it with you right now, some of the examples. You track the progress of the player. So you run the drill, for example. You switch drills, but you repeat them constantly, basically, every single lesson or every single week if you decide to play once a week. And then you check, okay, after 2 weeks, let's say, your child has to be working on the proper grip for forehand and backhand, making sure that the impact point is in front of him or her, making sure that the body is turned sideways, making sure that your child is trying to think, ready for the shot, let's say, and doing nice long hitting zone and nice follow through, okay? So you kind of tracking those checks, okay, your child is doing good. So you keep working on that. It's not 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So in average, as an example, I started working with a girl 1 year ago. Group lesson first for 6 months, and then we started doing private lessons, and we're still doing those drills from my program. Okay, so you just gradually add more footwork, more movement on the court. For example, you start from just hitting the ball from the same spot. Then you start adding more movement, meaning that player is hitting, let's say, 3 forehands in a row, okay, lateral movement, and then 3 forehands in a row, player moving forward towards the net. Then player is doing forehand and backhand at the same time. Then player is doing 4 shots in a row, forehand, backhand, and switching position all the time. So do you understand the idea? So you start from very basic stuff when the player has less movement and focusing more on proper swing setup. And then after that, you adding more and more footwork and trying to challenge the player. And every single drill, you're still working on those 5 fundamentals I keep mentioning. Please go back to my reel if you don't remember them, but that's what can help you to systemize the approach and making sure that you are consistent with your teaching, right? So you are delivering effective, I guess, teaching to your student or child. So this is about the schedule and the drills. So let me check my notes if I forget anything. And again, I mentioned, so for the schedule, kids tennis schedule, you have a goal, recreational path, high performance. You set the schedule twice a week, 3 times a week, depends on age, depends on your child's ability. Then you think it through, organize the lesson plan, making sure that you follow the structure, making sure that they follow the optimal length of each part for warm-up, for technical. You select the drills, you run the drills, you track the progress of the player, and making sure that you consistently work towards those fundamentals every single lesson. You add a challenge a little bit later on. It's not on the second lesson, after 2-3 months, for example, of practicing. And then what else? You vary the drills, I guess, for sure, because otherwise it's going to be boring and your child will not want to work towards it. And then, yes, and then if you have, I hope I answered your question about the calendar and timeline and how do you, I guess, choose the drills and come up with your timeline schedule. And the person who asked me this question, if you still need some clarification, please message me after this session or wherever you see this session, and I can help you more and guide you and maybe answer your specific question or situation you have right now with your child or your student. So the second question, please don't forget to leave your comments, guys, if you have any. So I'm going to be glad to review them later on. So the second question I receive, what do you do when you have a different level of ability on training? I have daughters 7 and 9 years old. All right. It's actually a very good question too. And I've been dealing with this type of situation many, many times. And I actually had parents who approached me and say, hey, I have those different ages, close ages, right? 7, 9 or 6, 8 or 5, 7. And we would like to start tennis, but they're different, etc., etc., etc. Okay, again, all situations are different. And I'm trying to provide you a general approach. Obviously, I don't know exactly the level of your girls, of your daughters, but let's assume that both of them have some experience. Let's say 7 years old has less, 9 years old a little bit more advanced. In this case, you can manage them together, but you have to be creative, right? You have to, again, organize yourself and thinking through what kind of drills you're going to provide for them. If you're doing hand feeding, you can adjust the distance. You can, let's say, if 7 years old hitting from service line, and you feed the ball to her from service line, then for the older one, you can feed it to the baseline, let's say. Or again, we're talking about 9 years old, you can decrease the distance, let's say. But again, you need to have that ability, like coaching ability, feeding ability to do that, right? So we're talking I don't know if you're the parent, if you do have esperience with tennis, with feeding, it's not always easy, especially, especially with this type of situation, right? So if you don't have enough experience, I'm talking about parents, right? Feeding experience or coaching experience, maybe the best approach would be for you to split girls and have like a private lesson, little private lesson for each of them. So half an hour for one girl, half an hour for another, half an hour for one girl, 40 minutes for another. So that type of thing. If you feel more, if you have tennis experience, you can you can vary the drills, then you can try to do what I just explained you. Also, another option is do rotation. So, for example, for the 7-year-old who has less experience, you can ask her to stay on the sideline and practice tossing for your serve. I actually do it quite often for when I do this, practice with rotations, right? Different stations. So you put her on the sideline and you ask her to start practicing, and you kind of keep your side eye on her and kind of control her as well. You not just leave her alone, but so she can see that you still kind of managing her as well. And then you work, you do something with the other girl, right? With the older one. And then you switch. And then you invite after like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, 7 minutes, depends what you're doing, right? And then this kind of rotation you can do. Or another rotation, let's say if the girl doesn't have experience at all, you always start from like self rally, right? So you ask her again to go to the baseline, like to the behind the baseline, let's say. And then you ask her to do self-rally, bouncing the ball on the racket, different variations. And let's say you can ask her, say, okay, can you do 20 times this side? Let me know when you're done. And you're working with this girl. Then let's do another side. So you kind of occupy her for that time being, and then you do rotation, okay? That's another thing, right? It is extremely hard to run a tennis lesson with completely different levels. So for example, you're 7 years old, never played tennis before. You're 9 years old is already kind of more advanced, I would say, or intermediate level. So it will be hard for you as a parent to manage that type of lesson on the court at the same time. Okay. Oh, another rotation, by the way. So again, just to summarize everything, it's better for you to split, okay? So you can send the older one to pick up the balls, let's say, and you work with the small one, and vice versa, okay? And another actual option for you, if you play rally with your kids, you can also adjust the distance. For the 7 years old, you can put her on service line and play rally with her. For the 9 years old, you can put her on 3/4 court, a little bit farther, closer to double or baseline, and play rally with her farther. So do you understand like what I'm trying to say? It's again, it's very specific on your situation, whether you as a parent or coach have the ability to be creative, to manage this type of feeding and rotations, because again, it's not easy. And then if you can, please try. I usually, when I went back like 15 years ago when I just started my coaching, I didn't have that luxury to split the groups. I had 6 years old, 13 years old, 8 years old, one class, and all of them were at the same time. I constantly did rotation, like no other way. I can't put 13 years old and 6 years old, maybe just a 4 warm up on the service line, yes, but then later on, obviously, especially if some of them have a different, better level of playing, let's say, it could be tough, okay? And then safety concern as well. Let's say if the older kid can hit harder and then you have a 6 years old and by accident you can, that 10, 13 years old can hit the ball like without control, it might be tough. So yeah, hope I answered your question. And again, if not, please feel free to reach me out after this session and I will address it. And another one, very interesting question. I think I received it from female junior tennis coach. So if I have female junior coaches here online right now with me, maybe it will be more beneficial for you, my answer. But if not, it's okay. So I'm just going to share my story here. So the third question I wanted to talk today is, someone asked me, what is your profession beside being a tennis coach? What is my profession beside being a tennis coach? And another question, I just decided to combine them together. Would you recommend tennis coaching as a career for a young female person? Such a tough question, to be honest with you. And let me answer to the first one. Do I have a profession beside being a tennis coach? Yes, I do. Yes, I do, and I do have a degree, business economics degree from back home, because my mom, as always, parents, she wanted me to have a serious degree. She wanted me to finish something and to be more serious in life, because I guess they didn't really think that coaching or tennis coaching could be something serious or like for long term for me, even though I kept telling them that I love it, I love kids, this is my passion, this is something I'm doing very well, and I feel I can develop myself. But I did it, so I finished my degree. Never really worked or used that degree back home, because I shared my story with you. You can check my posts. I started coaching when I was 17, 18. And then I just increased my involvement in coaching, and more kids, more programs, finished certifications here and there, and then moved to Canada after some time. Got hired for a tennis academy here, and actually moved to Canada as a tennis coach. In my immigration papers it says foreign worker as a tennis coach. But then after some time, I'm a very family oriented person. I love kids, I love tennis, but I love my family as well. And I thought that, okay, something is not working well for me in terms of the life-work balance. As you know, we have to teach late hours. We have to be on the court during the weekends. And it's been just a little bit tough for me to develop further, even though I felt quite successful. I had very good students, I had very good parents, I had results already in terms of the player development, and I enjoyed it so much. But when I met my husband, or like boyfriend at that time, we literally didn't see each other, because I worked 40 hours, like full time, 40 hours per week. And when I say 40 hours, usually tennis coaches don't work so much, unless it's a summer camp, let's say, or like any type of camp. We do have, usually coaches work like 3-4 hours, 5 hours max, but I worked sometimes 7-8 hours per day, especially if it's a summer camp. And I was tired, but I was happy at the same time. But then I didn't see my family at all. By the time I arrived home, it's like 10 p.m. and my family members already were like in bed, and then I slept in the morning, and they went to work, and it's like, it just didn't work for me personally. For some people, yeah, sure, might be a good idea, but for me, I felt like it's not what I wanted. I wanted to have a nice work-life balance, and I couldn't change that because when you work with committed parents and players, they want more. They want all your time. I remember one parent, he told me, okay, what if I hire you full time for my child? So you're not going to be teaching other kids, you're just going to be teaching my child. And the child was 5 years old, by the way. And so that type of, like very demanding and kind of environments. And I wanted to do that, but I at some point, again, I realized that it's just like, it doesn't work for me any longer. So I decided, okay, what if I try something else? What if I keep tennis as a part-time, because I love it. I've been doing this for so many years. I can't just quit. It's not for me as well. But I'm gonna try to find alternative solution for myself to develop like a different career type. So yes, I changed my career right before my son Michael was born. So I started to teach part-time in the evenings, every evening from 5:30 till 9. Wasn't great as well, because kind of, but I thought it's going to be a gradual transition. And then I started doing corporate or office work from 9 to 5 every day. And then Saturday I still had tennis lessons. Again, was hard to manage, especially at the beginning, but then I gradually decreased my involvement in tennis coaching, and I left some hours during the nighttime. Then I had but I never quit it, so I never stopped only when I got my child. And in Canada we have 18 months maternity leave, so I decided, and then COVID started, and then all this chaos and craziness around it. Tennis clubs are closed, tennis coaches are without job, don't have money, suffer to trying to survive. And at that time I was kind of lucky that I had the support from my other career, I guess. Financial support, because I felt confident and I felt secure. And I felt really bad for those coaches who worked so hard, and just because of these life circumstances, they couldn't really live their normal life anymore. It was tough. I spoke so many coaches, and they basically have to start everything from the beginning after pandemic. And then this is my story, and but now then I returned back to tennis, because again, this is just my passion. This is something what I do and I love, and I constantly work in it. And I found the way to express myself, to teach people, I opened this account, and I enjoy it so much. And I feel that this is a new journey for me, new turn in my career, coaching career. I enjoy it so much. I hope you guys feel it. Thank you for your support. Again, going back to the question was asked if I recommend tennis coaching as a career for a female person, for a young female person. It's up to you. Can tell you more. If I just had my priorities, as I said, I am a very family-oriented person. I couldn't find that balance between work and life. Because coaching, you have to be on the court. Like if you, with students, you have to travel with your kids. You have to commit to them. And it should be evening hours, mostly. Sometimes in the morning, but it's very rare, right? So that's why I decided to find the balance. Whatever makes you happy, I decided to find a different way of bringing you value as a tennis coach. And so that's why I'm here. That's why I share my journey, I share my expertise and knowledge, and never quit tennis. Now full involvement with my son's development, and so stay tuned, more to come. So here we go. Half an hour, 30 minutes. Oh my God, that's perfect. First time I am actually on time. And on a side note, by the way, last thing I wanted to mention, that some parents say me, I don't really plan to coach my son or daughter or child. Yes, I love tennis. I support tennis. I want my kids to play, but I don't plan, I don't have abilities, or I don't have knowledge, etc., which is fine, which is totally fine. It's just if you decide to take this approach, then I guess lower your expectations. So because some parents, if you're not interested to invest in your knowledge, just to spend a little bit more time to educate yourself, then it will be hard for you to make decisions in the future, and let's say even see the difference between the coach's abilities or coaching training. So that's why if you don't plan to train your child, it's fine, but I still promote to educate yourself on the kids' tennis development, or just in general tennis journey. What's going to happen next after that? Is that coach is good enough for my child? What kind of how good training should look like, let's say, because you don't have time with your coach enough, right? When you approach your coach after the lesson and you ask, hey, how is my child doing? And how many minutes do you have with your coach? It's literally 30 seconds. They're going to tell you, yeah, it's good. Or when you still need to work on forehand, spin or grip or whatever, right? So educate yourself, invest in your knowledge, and spend more time to see how can you help your child to grow and set your child for success, even for recreational success, not necessarily high performance. All right. Thank you so much. Let me check if I have any comments here. or questions before I say goodbye to all of you? 1 second. I have lots of people to join today, and I'm so happy to see it. Okay, where can we find the webinar? I will post the link today, but it's actually, if you follow the link on my account for the program, you will see, scroll all the way down, and you will see additional products. It's a webinar, so it's a $40 cost, 2.5 hours. Then you receive additional PDFs for a monitoring checklist. So the next question would be, one moment, scrolling down. Do you follow a set plan with your beginner tennis 10 and under students? Set plan. Yes and no. Again, because we definitely have a plan. We definitely have lesson plans organized by ages and levels. And based on their involvement 1 time a week, 2 times a week, let's say. And obviously we work towards those fundamentals. But if I need to spend more time on some of them, I would rather do that than skip it and move to the next, let's say, next level of development. So yes, you have to have a set plan and set lessons. Have something from Brazil. Someone messaged me from Brazil, but I don't speak. I speak only English, so I don't really understand the question. Sorry. If you can send me a message in English, that would be great. Okay, perfect. I think I covered everything. Awesome. Okay. Hello, everyone. And sorry who just joined. I just finished my webinar and I'm about to say goodbye. Thank you so much, everyone. And I will save, as always, I will save the recorded version of it on my profile, and you can access it anytime. Have a nice Friday. Have a nice weekend ahead of you. Wish you only the best, and thank you again. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.